My brother announced his engagement at my promotion dinner. He got the spotlight he wanted. The champagne glass was still in my hand when my brother Kevin stood up and clinked his fork against his water glass. My parents had flown in from Ohio specifically to celebrate me making partner at my firm after 9 years of grinding through cases, missing holidays, and sacrificing every weekend. The restaurant had a private room reserved under my name. The bill was on my card, but Kevin cleared his throat and said he had some news that couldn't wait. My girlfriend Natalie grabbed my wrist under the table. I watched my mother's eyes light up as Kevin pulled out a ring box and announced he and his girlfriend were engaged. My father started clapping before Kevin even finished his sentence. The next 45 minutes became about Kevin's proposal story, Kevin's wedding timeline, Kevin's venue options. My promotion wasn't mentioned again. My mother asked if I could help fund the reception since Kevin was between jobs. My father suggested I use my legal connections to get them a discount on the venue contract. Kevin laughed and said being a lawyer was finally useful for something. Natalie squeezed my hand so hard her nails left marks. I smiled through all of it because that's what I'd always done. Kevin was the charming one, the favorite, the one who got standing ovations for showing up while I got polite nods for achievements. But something shifted in me that night. I was done being the family ATM with no return on investment. The following week, Kevin sent me a spreadsheet of wedding expenses totaling $62,000. He'd highlighted my name next to the honeymoon fund, the rehearsal dinner, and the open bar. No request, no please, just my name in yellow highlighter like I'd already agreed. When I called him to discuss it, he laughed and said it was the least I could do since I made more money than him. He reminded me that he'd always been there for me growing up. I asked him for one specific example. He went silent for 8 seconds, then said I was being difficult. That's when I started keeping records. Every text, every voicemail, every email where Kevin asked for money or dismissed my accomplishments. I created a folder on my laptop called Insurance. 3 months before the wedding, Kevin asked me to be his best man. I said yes, because I needed access. He gave me a list of duties that included planning a destination bachelor party, coordinating with 12 groomsmen, and writing a speech that highlighted his journey to becoming a great man. The budget for the bachelor party alone was $15,000. I paid for deposits on everything, kept every receipt, documented every payment with timestamps. Kevin never once asked how I was doing. He never mentioned my partnership again, but he did forward me an email thread with his fiancée where they joked about how easy it was to get me to pay for things. He'd accidentally included me in a forward. The thread went back 6 months. They called me their personal investor. His fiancée wrote that Kevin knew exactly which buttons to push to make me feel guilty. I screenshot everything. The rehearsal dinner was at a waterfront restaurant that I'd fully funded. 84 guests, premium bar, custom menu. Kevin stood up to give a toast and spent 12 minutes talking about himself. He mentioned me once to thank his little brother for handling the boring logistics. My parents beamed at him like he'd cured a disease. I waited until he finished, then stood up and asked if I could say a few words. Kevin looked annoyed but nodded. I connected my phone to the restaurant's display screen, the one they'd set up for the slideshow of Kevin and his fiancée. Instead of photos, I pulled up the email thread where they discussed manipulating me. I read 3 messages out loud to complete silence. Then I showed the spreadsheet of every dollar I'd spent, $38,000 in total, across 9 months, without a single thank you or repayment offer. Kevin's fiancée started crying and said I was taking things out of context. Kevin grabbed for my phone, but I stepped back. My father stood up and told me to stop making a scene. I asked him when he'd ever defended me the way he defended Kevin. He didn't answer. My mother said I was ruining everything over money. I told her it was never about the money. It was about being invisible in my own family while funding Kevin's entire life. I showed one final screenshot, a text from Kevin to his fiancée sent 2 hours before my promotion dinner, asking if she thought he should announce their engagement that night since it would take attention away from my boring work thing. He'd planned it. He wanted my spotlight because he couldn't stand me having one moment that wasn't about him. The room went completely silent. Kevin's fiancée looked at him with something I'd never seen before, doubt. His groomsmen started checking their phones, probably reviewing their own financial contributions. My mother sat down slowly, her face pale. My father wouldn't look at anyone. Kevin tried to laugh it off, calling me dramatic and jealous, but the damage was done. His fiancée walked out of the rehearsal dinner and didn't come back. 3 of his groomsmen followed her to make sure she was okay. Kevin stood alone at the head table surrounded by the celebration I'd paid for, watching his future wife disappear through the door. The wedding was canceled 4 days later. Kevin's fiancée returned the ring after finding more messages where he'd discussed other women. I received a check from Kevin's former father-in-law-to-be for every dollar I'd spent, plus an apology for his daughter's participation. Kevin moved back in with my parents and hasn't spoken to me since. My mother calls monthly to ask when I'll apologize for embarrassing the family.